Okay, so I'm assuming that I'm probably live now. So if I am, if anybody's in the chat, if anybody wants to join in, by all means do, and just come and say hello. It'll be awesome to actually speak to some guys tonight and just, you know, have a chat. We haven't done it for quite a while, and I kind of felt like I needed to just jump on a live stream and talk about a few things that have kind of I've been going with the channel, with content that I'm going to be releasing very soon, those kinds of things, and talk about just some random WordPressy type stuff. So please do let me know if you can hear, if you're in the chat, if you're available, you want to join in, by all means do. And yeah, let's have a little bit of a chat. Whoa, we've got a few people in already. Good evening, Milan. Good evening, Plurat. I hope I said that correctly. George, always good to see you in as well. And Greg, a pleasure to see you in. Tees, good to see you. And Mike O. Yeah, I just thought I'd just jump on a live stream this afternoon just because I can, and I haven't done it for quite a while. So hope you're all doing well. Yo, Rich, good to see you there, man. How you doing? Oliver, good to see you as well. And yeah, keeping you company while you're working. Stardust, hey man, how's it going? Hope you're all doing super well today. 26 people in already. Wow, I'm quite surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised. Anyway, so how's everybody doing today? You all having a good day? Is your week going well so far? Do let me know in the chat, because it's always a pleasure to kind of get your feedback and see how your day is going. Who else do we have in? Shane, good to see you in as well. Oh, I'm never going to say this. I'm just going to pop you up on screen and say hi. There we go. I'm never going to say that, but good evening. Good evening. I'm not saying good evening for it's daytime here. Anyway, it's just dark in this room and it kind of feels like the evening all the time. So who else do we have in? Let me just hide that comment. Brian, good to see you in as well. Sandy, always a pleasure to see you in from Kentucky. Hope the weather's nice out there than it is here in the UK. Okay, so Paul met the barber. Yeah, this is long compared to usual, so we'll say no more. Send you an email for a live about Athens camp. Cool, sounds good to me, Stardust. I was thinking of going over to Athens to WordCamp, but the reality of it is I'm getting married in August. I've been putting it off for the last 3 years because of COVID, so we are trying our very best to get that in place for August, which means that I've got a stag to go to in July. Then I've got a festival to go to. Then I get married. Then we go away for a holiday. You kind of get the picture. So it was a case of the money that would be spent on that, I think, could be better diverted to other places. So unfortunately, at this point in time, I don't think I will be going to WordCamp. But Stardust, if you do let me know what it's like over there, and anybody else that's thinking of going over there, by all means, let me know what it's like. Hey, Lewis, from Portugal. Well, funny enough, I'm going to Portugal for my stag in July. So hopefully the weather's going to be nice and the accommodation is going to be cool as well. But I've heard Portugal is a beautiful country, so I'm really looking forward to going in there and seeing what it's all like. Steve, good to see you in. Mark, always a pleasure to have you in. Glad we've been having a little chat every now and again. Pinto, good to see you as well. And Shane, what do we have? I'm interested in your thoughts on AI theme builders and the future of WordPress. Your videos on these topics are on my playlist. Well, let me just quickly bookmark that once I can keep an eye on that and come back to that. Thank you very much, Shane. That's very nice of you to say congrats on the wedding. Let's see if it actually happens and takes place. The last couple of years with COVID haven't made that particularly easy. Okay, so first of all, I want to give a shout out to my boy Imran, who, if you saw his live stream today, which was a bit of an impromptu live stream, which kind of got me thinking, I need to go back on a live stream myself. He had a bit of a tough couple of days where he spent probably 4 hours recording a bricks video tutorial, only to find that wasn't happy with the delivery, wasn't happy with various different aspects of it, and he's been feeling a little bit down. So Imran, if you are popping on the live stream, if you kind of hop in, or if you see this, or anybody else mentions it to you, chin up, my man. We've all been there. It absolutely sucks, but take my word for it. The next version will be more succinct, it'll be more on point, more professional, and ultimately be a better end result. I've done it myself. It sucks, but you do tend to find you come out the other side and you look at it and you think, yeah, that's a better result than the first one that I'd actually planned. So chin up, man, and good luck with getting that video recorded. I know it's the first of 4 parts on working with Bricks Builder. So anybody that doesn't know Imran from Web Squadron, or if you do, keep an eye out for that video, because I think that's going to be absolutely phenomenal. He's going to cover an awful lot of bases in that video. So, okay, excuse me. So as always, anybody that's kind of new to this, anybody that's an old hat and been sort of part of the live streams, if you've got a question for me, just put #Q in the chat so I can easily keep track of exactly what you're asking, and I'll try my very, very best to actually then get involved and answer those questions. Good evening, good afternoon, Mia. I hope you're doing well. Skating, hey Jimmy, how you doing, man? Hope you're doing well. I saw you on Imran's stream earlier on, and David N, good to see you as well. So it's great to see so many people coming in and joining me on this sort of last minute live stream. I hope you, like I say, you're all doing absolutely fantastically well. Okay, now if anybody's seen my videos over the last couple of days, you'll know that I've been doing some videos on sort of like the full site editing when it comes to WordPress. Now, I know there's a lot of kind of division when it comes to this topic. I know for myself, I've kind of really avoided full site editing and all those kinds of things, and vanilla Gutenberg and stuff, because one, I didn't feel like I really wanted to get in and look at it because, well, let's be honest about it, it's not been the best platform to work on since it was released. Yes, there's certain aspects of it are getting better, but it's not particularly great. But full site editing is something that I've kind of stayed away from. However, taking a look at the Ollie theme, which I took a look at a couple of days ago, which I was really impressed with. That was a really, really nice theme. It kind of led me down that path of taking a look at full site editing, whether I wanted to or not. And let's just say I posted a comment up on Twitter yesterday. Let me just share my screen with you. So you can see this is the comment that I put, which is more of an experiment. Sorry. The more experiment with WordPress and full site editing, the more I realized that the UI was created by people who should not be working in UI. And that's kind of got a lot of interest. There's over 5,000 views on it, a lot of comments, retweets, and feedback from people that are involved in WordPress itself, people behind the actual WordPress project. And some of the comments that have kind of come back have said that things are going to kind of move forward and start to tie in together. Because one of the key things that I found the most frustrating with it is there's such a disconnect between the dashboard of WordPress, full site editing, and Gutenberg. They all feel like totally separate tools. And that's kind of part of what I wanted to hop on a live stream today for, because if you haven't used it or you haven't experienced it, you probably haven't kind of like seen how disjointed everything is. So if you've seen the video that I released recently, yesterday I think it was, you'll kind of see some of my feedback. You'll see some of the things I'm talking about, some really strange UI UX decisions that I really don't understand why they just made those choices from a company or people that are behind this. You kind of think they would have a really solid understanding, or at least have people that have a really solid understanding of the UI UX side of things. And that doesn't feel like it is the case. They all look like completely different tools. And my kind of analogy is it feels like designed by committee, where each of those committees don't actually talk to each other. So there's no cohesion, no sort of like understanding of what the other person is doing. It's like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, that type of thing. So have you tried out full site editing yourself? Have you kind of experienced this? And if you haven't tried full site editing, I'm sure you've taken a look at Gutenberg and also how that kind of looks very different and operates very differently to what you have inside the normal WordPress dashboard that we've all become accustomed to over the last, 10 years, something like that. It hasn't really changed. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in that comment section below, and pop it into the questions, the comments. See, it's been so bloody long since I've done this. I can't even remember what the words are for the different parts of what I'm actually bloody doing. Anyway, Elsteg, did I post a live stream in the group? If so, Facebook is not showing it to me. No, I didn't, Els. I literally just thought, bugger it, I'm coming on and doing a live stream this afternoon just for, as a mate of mine would say, shits and giggles. Just for a bit of fun, just to kind of have a chat with you guys and just have a talk. It's nice to have this kind of two-way conversation. It's a really strange way of working when you are doing YouTube. It's you, as it is now, in a room on your own, talking to a camera, feeling a little bit strange. At least when we're doing a live stream, there are people on the other end of the screen that I can get feedback from. So that's cool. Yeah, so let me know. Have you tried it out yourself? If you have tried it yourself, what were your thoughts on it? Do you kind of feel like I'm on the sort of, in the same page as me, that there is a big disconnect between all the different components that we have as part of WordPress right now, which is kind of really strange. Imran, good to see you in. I don't know if you missed the beginning of this, but I was saying that, you had a bit of a tough couple of days that have really kind of knocked you when it comes to not so much confidence, but, the effort that you have to put in to be a content creator on YouTube, creating, videos, tutorials, putting yourself out there, which you do immensely well. And I just wanted to sort of say at the beginning and kind of get a bit of love for you, sort of saying, like, we've all been there, that when you create content like this, it sucks when something goes wrong, whether it's technical, whether it's just what you put together. So chin up, my man, and the end result will be better than the first attempt. Take my word for it. You will do a much, much better job, and everybody, including yourself, will benefit from the extra time it's taken you to go back and redo it, but it's still going to be worth it in the end. Take my word for it. Anyway, it feels very disconnected. Pixter, exactly. It feels very, very disconnected indeed. Now, I saw we did have a couple of questions, so let me quickly go and hashtag queue these so I can take a quick look and have a look at what you guys are asking. Right, that's the wrong bloody place. See, I just don't know what I'm doing today. Really don't know what I'm doing today. Okay. Brian Holt, would you say that you were done with Elementor and Crocoblock? You initially put out a lot of great content for both, but you've lately been pushing Bricks and others. I wouldn't say that I'm done with that combination. It's just anybody that kind of knows my kind of feelings about Elementor and how I felt is kind of like it's been in a rut for a very long time. And admittedly, all credit to them. They are seeming to take on board a lot of the criticism that people like myself and Imran and everybody else in the community, paying customers, they're taking on board what's being said. I think they've restructured a lot inside the company, and all credit to them. They do appear to be pushing things forward in a much more clear direction that a lot more people actually want. My only problem is that Bricks and tools like that have superseded them in so many different ways, and now they're playing catch up. And there's only so many times you can kind of keep on doing the same type of content. But will I stop covering Elementor and Crocoblock? Very doubtful. It's just I haven't really been enthused to go and create anything with that tool set right now. Not because there's anything wrong with Crocoblock or sort of, I say Crocoblock, I say Jet Engine and Jet Smart Filters and so on. But I have still used those inside Bricks. I did a video very recently on using Bricks Builder alongside Jet Smart Filters and Jet Engine. So I'm using that tool set to create content. I will be creating more. I've kind of diversified over the last few months where I went into a lot more into other areas and moved away from dynamic content considerably. However, that has started to change. I've kind of started to circle back around to go back to what I would consider to be my roots, as it were, and have a lot more content ready to kind of start creating. So, for example, if I just pull up Craft, for example, and I'll just share my screen with you guys. Let me just get rid of the comment. Quick question though, Brian. You'll see that if we go to, for example, my 2023 folder, and we go to, let's go to home first of all. You'll see these are some of the topics that I'm looking at creating. If we go into, for example, the to-do, this is my list of things that I've got to do. And as you can see, there's things inside here. There's a units of measurement video because people do get confused and don't necessarily understand rems, ems, clamp, all those kinds of things. So I've got a video that's coming out on that. I've kind of recorded the main part. I just need to do the demonstrations of the various different units to make it clear and understandable. I'm going to be doing actually there's not a lot on there, but there's some bits and pieces going on with regards to some of the content I'm going to be creating. If I go back out of here, you'll see that I've got one coming out, Beginner's Guide to ACF, which is going to break down all aspects of ACF, the terminology, those kinds of things. And this is going to lay the groundwork then for more tutorials on various different tools. So this won't just be like Elementor, it'll be like Elementor, Bricks, it'll be Gutenberg type tools. So probably using Generate Press and Generate Blocks. Maybe taking a look at some other tools, maybe like Spectra when it brings out the dynamic it brings out the Pro version, which should have dynamic content in there. So there'll be a more diverse range of dynamic-based content, but it will still also include Elementor, probably Jet Engine, Jet Smart Filters, alongside other tools. I want to give a broad coverage of those types of tools. So yes, it is coming. Yes, there will be more content that will include those types of tools, but it won't be unique to just those tools. There'll be a lot more things covered in future videos. Like I say, I'm planning on laying the groundwork for various different parts. So if anybody's like they're real beginner, I can reference them back, and it means that I can create more of those masterclass tutorials, which assume a certain level of knowledge. And if you don't have that knowledge, there'll be a list of tutorials you can go back to learn and get that foundational set of skills before you move on then to the more intermediate to advanced kind of topics. So hope that answered the question anyway, Brian, but great question. Daniel, I'll answer this question quickly. Any prospect of doing breakdance videos, pretty powerful dynamic data features? It does, but no, I probably won't be covering it. I think Imran and myself have talked about our reasoning behind not covering it. So yeah, at this point in time, I don't really feel any need to go and cover breakdance content. So probably not. May change in the future, but I'm not going to say to hold your breath if that is something you're looking forward to. So anyway, hope that answers the question. Okay, let me quickly skim through here. There's lots and lots of questions and things coming through, so that's pretty cool to see. Right, what else do we have? I missed a lot of different things going on inside here. Okay, what do we have? I'm interested in your opinion on the customized colored user interface of Elementor. In my opinion, this is a disaster for my everyday job. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I know that Imran and I believe Jeffrey over at Lightbox have released videos on how you can customize that side of things. So you can change the color of the interface itself, which I didn't find it that bad. I just found the interface changes were a little bit half finished and then being released as an alpha update for people like you and I to test out, which I kind of feel like I don't mind testing out. Well, I enjoy testing out kind of alpha and beta builds of various different tools. But at least if you're going to put it out, make sure that it's got all the key things you need. Like, for example, being able to get out of the editor is one of those things that was missed. I'm sure it's probably been put back in. But yeah, it's not the best. I can see why they're trying to bring in that consistency of branding. However, I'm not really a big fan of the Elementor color anyway. Let me just pull up a screen a second. If anybody's wondering, I'm just using the iPad to kind of do a lot of these things so we can sort of see a little bit better, because I found that screen sharing on one screen is a bit of a pain in the bum. Yeah, so I don't really like that sort of pinky kind of color that Elementor uses their brand color. It's not really, it wouldn't be my choice of color scheme at least, but I can understand why they are kind of bringing that consistent look and feel into everything. So yeah, you've got that sort of burgundy and pinky kind of color, which, you know, I don't really think is that nice, but hey, you know, we all make our branding choices. We don't necessarily have to agree with them. Anyway. Okay, let's have a little look. Crockerblock is moving to Gutenberg as well. It absolutely is, Max. It absolutely is. And I think this is one of those key things that I think is really good to see, is that Crockerblock are not limiting themselves to just working with Elementor, which I know for me is a bonus, is a good thing, because while that link was useful to start off with when Elementor was definitely probably the best out there at the time with dynamic content and dynamic data and so on, things have moved on considerably since then. And I think tying yourself in specifically just to that one platform could be problematic moving forward. So it's great to see that they're starting to support Bricks Builder, they're starting to support Gutenberg, you know, as well as Elementor. It means that if you want to use their tools, you have choices now about what you want to use them with. You're no longer going to be locked into just working with Elementor. So that in itself is a really solid move. I'm glad they've actually took that that direction when it came to, you know, moving forward, as it were. Okay, so let me just move that off there a second. Right, what else do we have? Daniel, Breakdance is quick, easy to use, produces clean code, has great dynamic data and conditional features. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that the builder is a very good builder. When I tested it out, I did enjoy what it offered. But like I say, there's more to a product than just the code it generates. There's a few other things that I think. Oh, hang on. Let me just undo that. I just linked my keyboard to my iPad. Yeah, so I can appreciate there's lots of good things about it, and I don't doubt it. I know there's a lot of people that really enjoy using it. When I tested it out, I thought it was good. It was a good platform, and that was sort of like early days. But like I say, there's more to it than just the product being a good product. And I'm sure Imran kind of feels. Actually, I know Imran feels the same, because we've spoken about it, and he's spoken about it on his live streams and so on. Okay, what other questions do I have today? Let's have a little look-see. Okay. James, good points on Elementor and Jet. Engineers are a way to migrate sites into Bricks from Elementor. Not that I'm aware of at this point in time, because I think they work in very different ways. You know, at the end of the day, Bricks is basically a theme builder. So it builds on top of its own native theme structure, whereas Elementor doesn't have that. So I can't see there's a simple and straightforward way, and I don't believe there's a way of actually transitioning Jet Engine created meta fields and custom post types and so on over to something like ACF or anything like that. I think you still kind of, once you go into one of these, you are technically kind of locked into that platform. Unless I'm wrong. If anybody knows that I'm wrong on this one, and anyone knows there's a tool out there that allows you to do this, by all means, let me know in the comment section, in the chat section, because I'd love to check it out. And I could like to sort of test it and see if it does work. And if it does, then I can obviously let you all know there's an option out there if you want to move over different platforms and so on. So I don't think so at this point in time, but it would be good if someone could come up with something like that. I suppose it all comes down to what the database structure is like, how it puts things together, and those kinds of sort of things. Rich, what have we got, young man? You were loving Cadence for a spell, and that's phased out to GP, GB, and others. Are you going to revisit Cadence and dynamic content? I was never really a loving Cadence kind of thing. I like Cadence blocks. I was never the biggest fan of Cadence theme. Not there's anything particularly wrong with it. I just preferred Blocksy and the way they did things. I do still like Cadence blocks, and I use it on the WP Tuts website. For me, I will be sort of revisiting lots of these. Like I said in the earlier sort of answer to the question about dynamic content and Elementor and that kind of thing, I want to focus heavily this part of this year moving forward in taking a look at lots of different tools that allow us to create more dynamic, more advanced, more feature-rich websites, and not limiting that to just working with Bricks or Elementor or generate blocks or anything like that. So I will be taking a look at Cadence, and I'm going to need the pro version for this. I'll probably take a look at things like GreenShift, Quickly, those different types of tools, and see how I can demonstrate how to build more sort of advanced sites with those. I mean, if I go to the WP Tuts site, bear with me a second, on YouTube a second, let me just go and find my channel. Oh, look, I'm live on there. Crazy inception. Right, so if we go, for example, even though I'm not logged in, let's have a little look at my videos. Let me just pull this up on screen a second here. So you can see, for example, where are we? Like the listing site, for example, that's using WordPress and generate blocks. There's also, if we scroll down a little bit, Bricks custom loop filters, which I'm using Grid Builder WP alongside Bricks Builder. Beginner's guide to sort of Bricks and Crocker block. So there's a lot of things that I want to sort of do, a lot of content that I want to bring together. Like I say, I'm laying the foundation groundwork for various different tools. So I will be doing things on, sort of ACF. I'm glad to see that that's now incorporated taxonomies and sort of meta fields and custom post types. So we have everything inside the one platform. So that's kind of given me more of a reason to go and really kind of push forward with that side of things. Yeah, so there's a good chance that it will involve, sort of not just one platform. It will involve multiple ones. So I will still be using Jet Engine, Jet Smart Filters. I'm waiting for Ross to complete the, what's it called? Search and Filter Pro version 3 and to release the beta of that so I can test that out. So hopefully that will, at some point in the future, I'll have access to that to test that out, because that's another one I want to take a look at. I might go back and contact Facet WP again and Search WP, even though I know that's been bought out by another company. I think I might go and sort of contact those people and see if they'll let me have access to that so I can create some more content. But I want to kind of just give you, not limit what you want to do to just one tool or set of tools, to kind of show you the options, show you the alternatives, maybe even do some comparisons. If you'd like me to do comparisons on things like Facet WP, Search and Filter Pro, Jet Smart Filters, and Grid Builder WP, for example, or things like that, let me know in the comment section of this video if you're watching it on playback, or let me know in the chat if you're watching it right now, because I want your feedback. I want to know what you want me to cover. As a content creator, I've been doing this a long time. I've got nearly 900 videos on the channel, 868 videos at the moment. There's still lots of ideas, but it's also good to get feedback from what you're looking for, what you would like me to cover. I can't sort of cover every topic, but I still would love to get your feedback on the things that you'd like to see, the tools you want me to take a look at. And obviously, there's an expense to a lot of these different things, whether it's a time expense or whether it's a financial expense. So I can't do everything, but I will try my very best to contact the companies to get access to the tools you want me to cover, if they're niche tools and so on. I'll do my very best to cover as much as is humanly possible. But let me know. Let me know in the comments. Okay. What other questions do we have? Let's have a look. Minium WP. How do you think of blooming CSS frameworks for bricks like ACSS, Oxyprops, core frameworks, etc.? Will Tailwind still have any advantages? I've never used Tailwind, so I can't say anything on that front. But I think the CSS frameworks that are coming out for bricks, primarily at this point in time, I mean, I'm sure they'll come out, once Elementor releases their ability to start working with classes and so on. I'm pretty sure that we'll start to see, things like that appearing for Elementor. But I think it's a good thing. I think it's one of those things that helps people like us that create, sort of websites and so on. Gives us a platform to make things so much quicker and easier. They do have a learning curve. I mean, I've taken a look at ACSS at this point in time alongside their frames, and now they bought out Plaster. So I'm taking a look at those sort of tools, and I will be creating some content on that to sort of introduce that. Took a look at Advanced Thema, which was Maxime's plugin that he released very recently for bricks, which I covered as soon as that was released. That's very interesting. That's not really so much a framework, but it has the ability to build your own framework inside of it. So that's pretty cool to see. So you have, sort of almost infinite control there. Oxyprops, I'll have to sort of reach out to the developer because he's putting lots of content out there. But the only problem I kind of find with the content he puts out is it's very, very long to cover topics, and sometimes it's a little bit too long to be able to sort of sit down and just sort of get an idea of what it does and see if it's something that I would want to sort of buy into and take a look at in a bit more detail. But I think they're a good thing. I think they open up, speed of development. You become much more rapid in your development process. You have less things to worry about when it comes to having a flexible site. I mean, ACSS, I'm still taking a look at it, but it's good to be, from what I've seen of it, from the videos that Kevin's put out, it speeds up the whole process and gives you that consistency, knowing that you don't have to worry about the sort of flexibility of your design, the liquid design. It's going to scale without having to worry about delving into everything and making sure everything is done, because all that kind of heavy lifting is being done for you. So I see if you are serious about creating sites and you want to have as quick as possible sort of platform to do it, then I think these kind of CSS frameworks are definitely a step in the right direction. So yeah, pretty cool. Okay, what other questions do we have? That's true. Bruno, yeah, Kevin did buy Plaster very recently, and he reached out to me a couple of days ago to let me know there's been some other releases and some developments with it. So I will be taking a look at that because it does look interesting. I was waiting for Plaster to kind of come back online so I could take a look at it and see how it worked, because I kind of felt like that was the missing component when working with something like CSS, which has so many classes and things that you have to learn and know what you're looking for to be able to become fast and effective with it. This kind of takes that problem out of the way and just makes the whole process of working with it a lot quicker and easier. So that's pretty cool. I'm glad to see that's the case. Let's have a look. What else do we have? We've got lots of questions coming in. So thank you so much for asking questions. I love it when there's questions coming in. It makes my life so much easier. Okay. What is the best WordPress theme out there, and have you heard of the Flocks theme? Yes, I have heard of the Flocks theme, and I don't think there is a best WordPress theme out there. It's the best WordPress theme for you and the project you're working on. If you want something really minimal and simplistic, you've got something like Ollie, which I tested a couple of days ago. If you want to just stay within full site editing and have a great quick starting point, that's pretty cool. If you want to have something far more feature rich, then you've got tools like Blocksy. I don't really like things like, not specifically calling out Avada or Vada or what you want to call it kind of thing, but I'm not the biggest fan of ones that have their own builder built into it, because then you're at the mercy of what they want to provide. And I know you don't have to use it, but I prefer themes that are just basically themes that I can then put the tool set that I want in there, if I even want to include something like Elementor, sort of anything like that. But for me, anybody that knows me knows that right now I'm a big fan of GeneratePress and GenerateBlocks. I think it's very quick and easy to work with. I've created several different sites and landing pages for myself, my own projects, and for clients. And it's once you kind of get past a little bit of a learning curve you have with it and the overlap that you have between the legacy parts of GeneratePress and what's kind of more flexible inside GenerateBlocks, it is very quick and easy to work with. But like I said, I don't think there is a best theme out there. I just think there's the best one for the job or the project that you're currently working on. Anyway, so that's what I think. But as always, if anybody's got a differing opinion, pop that into the chat so we know. Okay, who else do we have in? Hey, Phil, good to see you, my man. Good to have the conversation quickly earlier on about full site editing and so on. Okay, MDN, what is your suggestion for front-end post submission on Bricks? Right, I think the most important thing to take away, and I've answered this question in various different formats over the last sort of couple of weeks, is take the platform away. Forget all about Bricks. Forget about Elementor. Forget about GeneratePress, Blocksy, anything like that. If you take something like Advanced Custom Fields and you take the tool like ACF Advanced, too many advanced things going on here, there's the option for the forms inside the free version, and you can use that as a front-end sort of form tool, and then you can use shortcodes to drop that into whatever tool you want. So building it is very easy, and all you need is some kind of way of locking that behind a kind of login screen, so only access to it if you're logged in, there's tons of tools out there that allow you to do that. I do have a video in the sort of the testing phases when I'm working through it that will show you how to use that. It'll be a very simplistic example, but you can take that simplistic example and you can expand upon it as far as you need to get as comprehensive or as advanced as you need. Even the previous videos I've done, the first ones I did on the front-end forms there, on front-end dashboards, were all relatively simplistic. You just had to take those skills, those core skills, and the understanding of the knowledge that came with it and expand it. And I kind of did that with some of the later videos, but I'm never going to be able to cover every aspect of what people want. But yeah, Advanced Custom Fields, the free version, and using it alongside ACF Advanced and the forms functionality, it takes a little bit of learning because it's a little bit quirky. Then that's a pretty good combination that you don't have to spend any money on, and you can build your own front-end form submissions for whatever platform you want to use then, whether that's Bricks, Elementor, Gutenberg, whatever you want. So that's pretty cool to see. What I would say is that's how I would go about doing it. You should get Rich Table on your channel. I don't mind. I'm more than happy to have anybody that's interested, especially people that are involved in WordPress itself, especially now I kind of started delving into full site editing and so on. So, I mean, if Rich wants to come onto the channel one day, I'm more than happy to do a live stream and have a chat. Maybe, Phil, if you know him, you can kind of hook the two of us up and we can have a chat about it and see what we can put together. Okay, let me just have a little drink a minute because I've talked a lot. Phil, so for front end, I use Formidable. And yeah, there's another way you can approach it. You can find there's a lot of form plugins that will allow you to have sort of front end form submission options that can tie into both ACF or those kinds of tools and sort of core WordPress. There's lots of different options out there to do this kind of thing. I don't think there's one size fits all. I think it's just the tool set you might be most comfortable with and what you're trying to achieve with it. There's lots of options out there. There's no one that's, I think, is the perfect one. Do you think WordPress will ever expand on its roles permission functionality as core? Would you find it's lacking in surprise given WordPress's age? I don't imagine that would be something that they would look at as a priority. I think their focus is definitely in other directions. And I think because there are already plugins out there like, use the role editor and things like that, where you can create these for yourself relatively simply, I don't see that there'd be much of a need for it. And I don't imagine they would anytime soon. In the future, maybe. But like I say, I think their focus is definitely on full site editing, Gutenberg, and those types of things, competing with some of the other things that are out there. That's what I would say. Yeah, I would agree. Minim, downside of blocks is it still doesn't have their own blocks. I do agree. I've spoken to Sergio several times about this kind of thing in the past, and there was always the sort of promise that this would be coming. But as we see right now, there's still nothing that's been sort of included in that. There's no sort of roadmap ahead to show when that's coming, if it's coming at all, which is a little bit of a shame because I think they're missing a trick by not having that. I know not everybody wants to use their own sort of custom blocks and so on, and you can, yes, use it with Stackable, and you can use it with pretty much anything you want, to be honest. But anybody that knows the videos that I put in the past on live streams, I do tend to prefer where you have the theme and the block level plugin from the same company, the same developers, because it means that you have consistency and there's a much better chance that when there's an update, it doesn't break someone else's, so another plugin or theme or something like that, because it's all part of the same company, and it should have been tested, in conjunction with each other. So yeah. Okay. Right, Phil. WP role create. I know you can do it like that. Good. There's always one smarty, I tell you. Always one smarty. Okay. WordPress needs to find a way to be headless out of the box. Do you agree? I can see there's definitely be advantages. Number one being security side of things. I don't imagine that they would do that anytime soon. I think that was probably more likely that's going to be a fork of WordPress where someone else does that kind of thing and takes that to be the main selling point of their kind of fork of WordPress. But right now, I don't imagine it, because I think they would probably look at it as a case of, well, if you want to have better security, you don't want to have to worry about updates and a lot of things like that, then you probably got WordPress.com, which you can pay for, and you probably get certain benefits. Not that I've ever paid for that and tried it, so I could be talking out of my butt. But I would say that's probably the direction they would probably point you in if you started talking about headless, where you want to remove that reliance upon the update cycle and all those kinds of things and security sides of things. Milan, thoughts about Spectre from Brainstorm Force? I've only tested the plugin out, not to a huge extent. And from what I saw and from what I tested, it was a pretty solid plugin. As I've said in the past, what Brainstorm Force tend to do is they tend to sort of sit back a little bit, take a look at what the landscape is doing, in this example, the blocks side of things. And then they will take the bits they think are good from different tools, and then they'll combine that into their own iteration of that thing. Whether that's a theme, whether it's a block level plugin like Spectre and so on. I'd be more excited when they release the Pro version. I did start testing out the Spectre 1 theme yesterday, which is the full site editing theme, which you can integrate obviously with the Spectre blocks level plugin, and found there are certain differences between what I was looking at with Ollie and the way that they've handled the full site editing, which is kind of interesting. And I think this is kind of goes back to that initial topic that when you look at things like full site editing, different companies or different individuals that are creating themes and plugins and so on will take different approaches to different parts of it. And what that does is it tends to lead to a bit of a learning curve each time you take a look at a different tool. So for example, Ollie, the template structure side of things for full site editing, they've got the sort of the homepage, and you have to edit the homepage inside there. Whereas, and if you set in the normal settings in WordPress your own page as a homepage, it doesn't matter, it doesn't show it. However, if you do that in Spectre 1, it does show it. So there's kind of like these, it would be nice if something was standardized when it came to full site editing themes and blocks and those kinds of things. I think this is one of the problems we have when it comes to WordPress in general as a whole. It's kind of a bit of a wild west at the moment, and has been for quite some time. There's no consistency in across the board. If we knew that if you wanted to edit the homepage, you always went into the template for full site editing and you edited it there, that would be one thing. But then if you're going to do that, then it would make more sense if there's a full site editing theme installed, then you would disable the ability to set a homepage. Do you know what I mean? So there's kind of like this, there's still this disconnect between these different things that are kind of going on. And I think this is where there has to be some kind of, I can't say governing body, but some standard body that basically says, right, these are the standards you have to adhere to. If you're creating a theme, the theme has to have these things in it. And that then becomes a full site editing theme. And you don't deviate from those things. You can interpret aspects of it and create, custom aspects of it, but the core functionality is always going to be the same. So then it means that if someone learns on one theme and one set of tools, then they decide to go to something else for whatever reason, at least they don't have to then go and look at the quirks in the way that particular theme or plugin actually works. And I think this is, like I say, this is one of the problems that I see really coming into play with full site editing and those kinds of things. And also with Gutenberg itself. If you look at full site editing and you go into the editor to edit the pages, there's certain aspects that are different to core Gutenberg, and that doesn't make sense to me. It's like, at least have the consistency that everything is the same, whichever way around you do it. Anyway, Phil, the way around that may be to not provide any templates with the block themes, almost like a blank canvas, and that's it. Then build it from block patterns. Yeah, I mean, that I don't know what the answer is. Excuse me. There are smarter people out there than me to come up with that answer. But I think as we kind of identify, there does need to be some kind of standardization going on. Otherwise, it just becomes, like I said, a bit like the Wild West. We just don't know how each company, how each designer, developer is going to approach it. And it just means that it leads to inconsistencies and just a bit of a pain in the behind, that's all. MDN. What if I already use Jet Engine? Is ACF Advanced usable in that case? No, it's not. ACF Extended is only for ACF. It's not compatible with using it with like Jet Engine or Toolset or any of those kinds of things. It is a specific add-on just to ACF. And you can use, and you have to have the Pro version. It doesn't work with the free version of ACF. So if I said that earlier on, I'm wrong on that front. It has to be the Pro version for whatever reason. I'm assuming it's because you need like the additional features you have as part of Pro. But if you do have Pro, I would recommend checking out ACF Advanced. It's not particularly easy, but it is very, very powerful. Let me just see if I can call that up a second. Let me just go into ACF Extended. So bear with me. Extended. Okay, let's put that back there. ACF Extended. Work with an iPad feels weird again. Yeah, so if you take a look at, for example, ACF Extended, if you go to, I think it's acf-extended.com, you'll see this is what you kind of have. And as you can see, there's lots of options inside here for things like ACF fields. There's additional fields inside the plugin. There's, as you can see, there's some things that are Pro. I've never tried the Pro version out, so I don't really know what features that brings with it. But as you can see, there's lots of extra options inside here, like field groups, field settings, modules. You can do a lot more with things like the, what's it called? The settings pages and things like that. It does expand it an awful lot. One of the key things, though, is the forms feature. So, for example, if we just go back and we take a look at, where is it? Oh, this is awful. It's an awful bloody website. Oh, it's in there somewhere anyway. There's an options in there for working with forms. So it goes on kind of custom form building options. And you can then connect those up to the fields and you can have that front end and updating and new content and things like that. I think that's one of the things that's for me, is kind of exciting what you can do with that. So I'm looking forward to delving into that a little bit deeper. But like I said, it is one of those things that there's an awful lot to it. And I think I've just connected my mouse up to my iPad, so bear with me. Yeah. Okay, anyway, so I'm just talking crap now. What else do we have? Steve, let me just answer your question. I've been using Elementor and built many sites. I looked at Bricks and a couple of others. Every change in tools is another learning curve, and I always wonder if it's worth the effort. The thing I always say is, if you're happy with the tool set that you are using, stick with the tool set you're using. There's no need, there's no requirement for you to change to something else. If that's doing the job that you wanted to do, you need to do it, you're making money out of it, or you're saving money by using it, whatever, stick with it. There's nothing wrong with testing out other tools. Take a look at, if you want to test out Bricks, then try it out on the sort of playground, which you can have up for, I think it's a couple of days you can kind of have it up online for. So you can test it out without spending a single penny. Also, what I tend to do before I take a look at, do I want to invest my time in looking at additional, sort of different themes or plugins or tools and things like that, I'll tend to go online, have a look at some YouTube videos that other people have put out there, maybe even the company have put out there, to get a feel for what it is that actually offers. And if I like the look of it, then I'll take a look at investing some time and effort into it. But don't ever feel like you should move away from something. If Elementor is doing what you need it to do and you're happy with it and you're proficient with it, and like you say, if you do it for business and you're making money, stick with it. No need to change from what you're comfortable with, what you're using. And if anybody tells you should, just ignore them. They're talking rubbish. So, yeah. Bear with me. My screen has decided to crash on my iPad, so I'm literally looking at a frozen screen there. But yeah, Steve, do what you think is right for you. David Den, so have you done an in-depth comparison between ACF Jet Engine and MetaBox? There have been lots of complaints about bloat in Jet Engine. I haven't, because I did a video a while back about why I hadn't done it, and I think it kind of still hangs true, is that there are so many kind of different ways that these different tools work, and what resonates with one person won't necessarily resonate with another. And what is beneficial in one is negative in another. So for example, let's take a combination of things like ACF, Free or Pro, and Jet Engine. What are the benefits of one over the other? Well, let's take a look at ACF. Widely supported. It's got, almost any WordPress theme, plugin, or anything like that can handle dynamic data will support ACF. And even if you don't want to use that, you can use the native functionality inside ACF, and you can create your own short codes from it. You can add it into your functions PHP file, or use code snippets or tools like that to output what you want, even getting into like full site editing and start to pull that data into your templates in full site editing. It's supported by so many different sort of platforms and so many different things that you have out there. Then take a look at Jet Engine. Much less support out there for it. It is growing, but it's still nowhere near as broad as a tool like ACF. But what you have with it is that it has so many more tools built into it. So whereas you may need to have additional plugins with ACF to do some of the things that Jet Engine does natively, you kind of get where I'm coming from. It's like there's no right or wrong. And the same kind of thing goes for Metabox. I'm not the biggest Metabox user. I've got licenses for it, and I do need to go back to it. And like I say, as part of what I'm doing this year moving forward is I will be investigating a lot more into these different tools. But Metabox has kind of taken a very similar approach to Jet Engine. There's lots of extra modules inside there that allow you to do more things. So like front-end form posting, having various different aspects of what you may want to do when building dynamic websites. Metabox has additional modules that allow you to do it. So they're more self-contained, whereas ACF requires either hand coding or third-party support in tools and plugins and so on. So it's really, it's kind of what you want to achieve and what you become comfortable with. ACF was the first one that I started using, and I'm relatively comfortable with it. Jet Engine, I tried that afterwards, and I'm relatively comfortable with that. Whereas Metabox, I didn't really gel with it that well to start off with. The same goes with Toolset, Toolbox, whichever one. I can never get the bloody name right on that. I could never get my head around it 100% to feel comfortable with how it worked. So it meant that I really didn't use it that much. But they all have strengths and weaknesses. It really just comes down to what you want to learn, what your overall stack is going to be. If you're very Elementor centric, then ACF, Jet Engine, or Metabox are going to be good for you. But probably out of the box, Jet Engine would have the most functionality. But like you say, it also has some bloat. It also has, sort of features in it you may not have any need for, whereas ACF has a bigger track record. It's been there a lot longer. It's more streamlined, but they all have their benefits. They all have their negatives. It really just comes down to what you learn, what you know, what you understand, and what you're trying to achieve with it. Hope that makes sense. Yanis, good to see you in, my man. What do you believe are the best tools for Bricks? I believe that Advanced Thema and Bricks Forge are the ones to seek first. What do you believe? Advanced Thema, I really do like it, because not specifically for one feature, but for the fact that it takes some of the things that we have that are not necessarily the best inside Bricks, and it enhances it, from the interface point of view, from a usability point of view, from a UI point of view. But it's not for everybody. You don't need it. Advanced Thema is not something you need. I think it's a nice to have, and it has some benefits. However, I don't think it's the be-all and end-all that everybody needs. I think it's a bolt-on to make life a little easier. But I know that Maxime is really open in the community to listening to what people are talking about and enhancing what he's offered. I think he's already at a version 1.08 since initial release, which is like about 3 weeks ago. And a lot of new features have been brought into it. Bricks Forge, I've got it. They reached out to me several months ago to give me a license for it so I can test it out. And I like what it offers. Again, this is another one of those tools that I think I will be taking a look at and delving into a little bit deeper to kind of get my head around it. I'm not such a big fan of the animation side of things. I've got Motion, for example. They sent me that as well. And I love what people can do with it. I love what you can do. I don't have that skill and talent to make it look good, like the Apple website, for example. That looks amazing kind of thing, and you can do all that kind of thing with Bricks Forge. You can do it with Motion and those kinds of things. For me, I'm not that good at it. I do think, Oxyprops has a lot of love Is it needed? It depends if you want to go down the route of working with a CSS framework. And the same thing goes for ACSS alongside frames. And now, like I say, Plaster's integrated into that sort of platform as well. They're all good. They all have features that can either enhance the editor or speed up your process or make your life a little easier when it comes to design or speed up the sort of rapid development side of things. Are any of them must-haves? No. I think Bricks is powerful enough straight out of the box. But I think if you want to get into CSS frameworks, so you want to speed things up from that side of things, then take a look at Oxyprops, take a look at ACSS. Both of those are very well respected and constantly being updated and tweaked and enhanced to give a better end result. But I don't think any of them are must-haves. I think they are nice-to-haves in a lot of cases. Or, like I say, it depends what your project is going to be like. If you want to just speed up the whole process, then a CSS framework can definitely make that a viable investment. Hope that answered the question anyway. What else do we have? Ian, is there a way to find out which plugins I'm not using? I overloaded Elementor with all the add-ons and lots of other stupid plugins. Now I don't know which are needed and which I can just delete. There is a website that allows you to find out what plugins are currently in use, but whether that would tell you whether you're actually using them on your site, I'm not 100% sure. If I'm honest, I'm not really sure. If Imran's still in the chat, if you're still on the live stream, have you come across anything, or anybody else in the stream, have you found anything that will actually tell you what plugins are actually being used, not just active on a website, because that would be quite useful. Yeah, let me know and let Ian know if that's the case. I love your avatar. That cat looks awesome. Right. What do we have? Find IT Tech. We currently use Elementor Pro Plus full Crockerbox suite and feel like we can do almost anything. Is Bricks better than that combo? Again, I don't think it's a case of is one better than the other. I think it's which one is better for you, which one is better for the project. Take care, Rich. Good to see you in here, and I'm sure we'll speak soon. Take care, my man. I think it's the full Crockerbox suite is very, very powerful. There's a lot of things you can do. But do you use it all? Do you use it all in every single project that you have? If you do, then stick with it. It's doing what you want it to do. And the same thing goes for Elementor Pro. Elementor Pro is getting better, but I don't really think... I'm not so bothered about what Elementor are doing. They're pushing forward in various different regards, but I kind of feel like there's two roads that they're going down. There's the one that's optimizing and making it a better platform, and there's this one that's just putting things in there that kind of feel like for the sake of putting them in there. I can't say it's better. It's not a case of better. I think is it better for you? Is it right for the job you're trying to do? Those kinds of things. So again, like I said earlier on, try Bricks Builder. Watch some videos on how it works. Watch some videos on how to use it. I mean, Imran's done videos. I've done videos. You can go to learnbricksbuilder.com, which is my site for all my bricks tutorials. Let me just pull that up a second. Learnbricksbuilder.com. If you head over there, you'll find, this probably looks terrible on the iPad, but you'll see this will give you all the different sort of tutorials and videos and the new features and all those kinds of things. So you can keep up to date with the kinds of things you can do. But what I would suggest is just go and take a look at what it offers and see if there's things in there that you think, actually, I prefer the way that works than what it does with Elementor or, with Jet Engine and everything else. If you're using the full Crockerblock suite, let's just say you're only using Jet Smart Filters and Jet Engine, you can use those with Bricks. It's not as fully supported yet, but it will be fully supported. So, you are potentially investing in the future of that project and that product. Yeah, I just don't think there's a better. I think it's just different tools for different people. Anyway, what do we have? James, let's have a little look. That's my cat. And it looks awesome. What's the cat's name? You've got to tell me the cat's name now. So, Ian, what is the name of your putty cat? Good to see you back, Jimmy. Glad your meeting is over. Hope it all went well, and you now become a millionaire based upon whatever that meeting was about. But awesome. Okay, I'm going to give it about 5 or 10 more minutes, and then I'm going to call it a day. But I'm so happy that everybody's kind of joined in today. If you've enjoyed today's chat, you've enjoyed the sort of like last minute live stream, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, because as we know, the algorithm likes it, and it tells people, puts the word out to more people that the channel is doing live streams, that you like what we do around here, and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm a worthwhile human being because I got a thumbs up on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Give it a thumbs up. Go on. Just for me. Just for me. Go on. You can do it. Okay. Let's have a little look. Yanis, have you tested enough the mega menu in bricks? What do you believe of this approach? I think it's still a little rough around the edges. I think it still needs some work. I can see why they've approached it in the way that they have, because it does give a lot of flexibility over maybe some slightly more restrictive ways of creating mega menus. But it does kind of still feel a little bit rough around the edges. I think it still needs a bit of polish, but it is still either an alpha or a beta. So it's gonna get better. As with most things when it comes to bricks, what you get to start off with maybe in the beta version, and then when you get the final release version, and then moving forward, it does tend to improve and improve and improve and improve. Taking on board feedback. Thomas is great to listen to what people are saying, the sort of like the things that people don't like, the things that people do like, then implement them and create a much better end product based upon the feedback that makes sense to be implemented. So I've got high hopes for it. Right now, I don't really use mega menus that often, so I don't really have a huge amount to sort of compare it to. But I think it's in the right direction. I just think it still needs some polish to make it where we need it to be. Duckett, good to see you in. Thank you very much for joining. And no, man, you're amazing. But thank you very much. That's actually pretty cool. Okay. James, always love your lighting on your videos, Paul. It would be great to see your setup one of these days. There's already a video of my setup on the tubes. If you go over to, let me just pull up YouTube again. And let me just have a little look. WP Tuts. Let's go back. Studio. You will find there's a video already on that topic up online. There we go. There's my studio setup. Hopefully this won't play.
Now I'm still waiting for the new Mac Minis to come out with the new M1 Mac Pro and the Mac chips. So you can't hear it. So once they kind of come out, I'll probably be upgrading. But at this point in time, in the studio, anyway, I'm literally running a base mod.
Stop! There is a video up on there already, James, so you can take a look at that. Just do a search for WP Tech Studio, and you can take a look at what's going on. There are going to be some upgrades. The desk is a little different now. There's a new set that's kind of being built over on what is my right-hand side. I want to change the background. I want to change something on there. I love the sort of posters, but I also want to change them to something else because they're a total bloody nightmare with my light up the top of there, which just ends up reflecting on those. So I need to find some way of making that a little bit better, or maybe taking those away and putting some shelves up there or something. I don't know. Let me know what you think I should put behind me on the wall, but there. And it's always good to get people's feedback on what they think could look good. Okay, so I hope that's answered the questions anyway. Shakespeare Kalibo, good to see you in. Thanks for joining us from the Philippines. And thank you for sharing my ideas. I have no problem sharing my ideas. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to those ideas. Okay, so let's give it a couple more minutes. If anybody's got any more questions, let me quickly see if there's any more cues in here that I've missed out. Okay, I did it again, didn't I? I've asked myself a question already. Right, did I miss anything out? Oh, I've got a few in here, so let's have a little look. Did I get these? Oh, there's a good one. Video Boy. When will you do a follow-up for Atomic Design? Oh, wow. I do want to do some more design-based content, some more design-based tutorials. Things on Figma, but also on PenPot, on Lunacy. I do have one that I'm testing at the moment. I talked about in a recent video about sort of top AI tools for designers. There's one on there called Wizard. Let me pull that up on screen a second so I can kind of show you what I'm talking about. And when I released that video, they reached out to me to thank me for doing including them in the video. And as part of that, they said, are you on the waiting list for the beta version of the AI tool? And I said, I was indeed on there. And they said, well, we'll see if we can push it forward for you. And I had an email off of them yesterday, I think it was, saying that I've been pushed forward. I've got access to it. And they give me a year access to the full platform. So I will be taking a look at doing like the AI design, for example. The auto designer looks pretty awesome. Whether you're designing desktop apps or, desktop websites, or you're designing sort of mobile apps or mobile websites and things like that, this is a really solid AI tool for creating those mock-ups to start off with, even right the way down to simple wireframes. So they will be more about not just things like atomic design and design principles and so on, but about design tools and so on. I mean, do you enjoy those kinds of tutorials where I go over, design principles, how to get better design, dealing with dark mode designs, dealing with the principles of design, all those kinds of things? Let me know in the chat, in the comments, if you're watching this on replay, because I don't know a lot of time what kind of feedback I get from creating those. Not everybody comments. It's nice to get comments and feedback, but in live streams like this, for example, let me know, because it'd also be quite cool to do some of these things in live streams. For example, if I use like a tool like Freeform, so if you're an Apple user, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, it's basically like a mood board. And I can't for the life of me bloody find it on. Oh, there you go, Freeform. So, for example, I use Freeform now to go through and find different ideas of things that I like. Excuse me. So you can see when I kind of find something on Dribble or on sort of, anyway, to be honest, if I like it, I'll screen grab it and I'll dump it inside here and get some ideas, and then I'll use these as, like, for example, like a markup on there. Let's just undo that. I like certain aspects. And also, if we take a look at something like Figma, let's have a little look. Let me go to my browser settings and let's go to Figma. I am in the process of creating a new sort of set of videos, should we say. Face ID, come on, there you go. That, bear with me a second, let me just log in. That I want to sort of take different designs and things like that, so I can kind of show you how I've gone about building things, the sort of the problems that I've come across, and also how I've kind of got around those. So, for example, if we take a little look once this loads in, which is painfully slow, like, for example, these ones. So I created the mock-up inside Figma, and then I've gone and built that then as a site itself. And what seems like a really simple example, like where you can see this sort of angular green section at the top with the black light at the bottom, that was a complete pain in the butt to get working the way that I expected it to. I thought it'd be really, really simple. And the reality of it was, it took me a good half an hour faffing about with different methods to get what I wanted, all because I wanted that black line to be consistent across the bottom, and you'd be surprised how much of a pain that is to do. So creating things like this, these mock-ups, and then understanding how you transition those into an actual real-world website, that's kind of interesting for me. But what do you think? I mean, is these kinds of things that you would like me to create more content on? Because I love doing this kind of thing, right the way down to creating, like, for example, the actual mock-up for the mobile device or the mobile style device, how to build that, how you create the different layouts on there, the different effects and things, the drop shadows, and then how you'd go ahead, exporting that. As you can see, there's various different design models I've got here. I'm bringing that in then. So you're kind of creating your prototypes. There's lots of different things that I really enjoy doing myself. But, let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments on the replay of this. Do you want to see more content like this, more design-orientated content using tools like Figma, sort of Lunacy? All of these tools are free. So you can really get stuck in and really get a good solid understanding of how to use these. And I know not everybody wants to use, sort of prototyping tools to build their websites. But I think the biggest sort of hurdle here is not understanding the benefits of doing something like prototyping in a tool like Figma. I know people say, like, oh, it's so much quicker to do it inside in Elementor. I can build it in there and I can change it. Yeah, you can. But then when you want to just literally duplicate that entire design, make changes to it very, very quickly, and you don't want to have to go through and make global changes or faffing about, tools like Figma, tools like Lunacy, prototyping tools are just so much faster. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to use it, is entirely up to you. But I think you're missing a trick when you just avoid it by saying, oh, but I can build it quicker inside, my page builder, for example, it's not quicker. I don't care what anybody says. When you want to make changes and you want to make very quick changes, or you want to just try ideas out, you can duplicate the design, try the ideas out, and you can do it in seconds. It's not that quick to do inside a page builder like Elementor or any other kind of tool. Anyway, thank you exactly for that, Jay. Always start with Figma. It doesn't have to be Figma. It can be other tools, but, you know. Let's have a look. George, what do you say? You can teach people how to think outside the box using the tools. You have to build something like that. Yeah, divider. Exactly. You know, I enjoy... It kind of gets boring doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, you can imagine like nearly 900 videos on the channel. I've covered a lot of the same things in different ways, but they're still fundamentally the same types of things. So it's difficult to strike that balance between creating content on something like Figma, for example, and you get a lot less people watching it. So it's kind of like, well, I'm putting a lot more effort into creating content that less people are watching. So it's like, it's this kind of hamster wheel of trying to strike the balance between creating content that I can be passionate about, that I think is exciting and interesting, and you know, I want other people to kind of see the benefits of it, as opposed to just literally just doing things you know are going to get you views, which is okay, but it just kind of gets boring. Anyway, so thank you very much anyway. It's cool to sort of see that you are interested in this kind of stuff, because I love getting feedback to know, am I on the right track? Do I need to sort of invest time in doing these things? Do I need to sort of do comparatives between, you know, tools like Lunacy, Penpot, Figma, those kinds of things, so you can see what options are out there? They've all got their own little quirks. Most of them are chasing what Figma are doing, but I know a lot of people are kind of worried about Figma because of obviously the Adobe buyout. Yeah, I think there's scope for lots of things to be created inside tools like Figma. Anyway, I'm going to call it a day there because, well, I've really enjoyed this live stream. It's great to see some new faces in today, as well as some faces that have been on here for quite some time. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to just jump on this sort of last minute live. It's been an absolute blast spending an hour or whatever it has been talking about different bits and pieces. Thank you so much for your feedback. Thank you for listening to all the waffling I've done in the last hour or so. Stay safe, look after yourself, and as always, I will see you very, very soon. Take care.